in Terumot, Perek Zayin, Mishnah Hey. A very, very interesting halachic discussion about something that's a little bit unusual, and we'll hopefully explain it as best as we can. Says the Mishnah, Shtei kupot. Let's say I have two kupot, two baskets. Achat shel Terumah ve'achat shel chulin. One is Terumah and one is chulin. Shenafla se'at Terumah l'toch achat mehem. I have a se'ah of Terumah, and the se'ah of Terumah fell into one of the baskets. Ve'en yadu alei zehem nafla. So I made you a little chart. Okay, I've got two baskets. Color coded them for you. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Even a little bigger. Here we go. Okay, I've got these two baskets. One is Terumah and one is chulin. And my se'ah fell into one of these. And I don't know which one. Okay, let's move it aside. It fell into either the Terumah or the chulin. So essentially, both of this is, if Terumah fell into here, great, everybody's happy. If Terumah fell into here, that's midumah, and that's a problem. So what do? Says the Mishnah. Harei ani omer, l'toch shel Terumah nafla. There's a halacha called talinan. So the Mishnah says, Harei ani omer, I can say, l'toch shel Terumah nafla. I can assume, in this case, since one of them is going to become, in this clear case, if it goes into here, it's going to make the chulin asur. It's going to make it midumah. If it goes into the Terumah, everyone's happy. So, Harei ani omer, the Mishnah says, I can assume, since I really don't know, that it fell into one that makes it mutar. How do you do this? So it's a very, very interesting halacha. So the Mishnah says, the Terumah says, Davka b'shtei kupot, achat shel chulin ve'achat shel Terumah. This is only if one is chulin and one is Terumah. This is the word. Talinan. Talinan means we assume. We assume that, Talinan, Terumah l'toch Terumah nafla, sheyesh heter l'shtei kupot. Because in this case, then both will be mutar. Chulin will be chulin, Terumah will be Terumah. So in this case, where I can assume where they're both going to be kosher, or at least one of them is going to be fine afterwards, or both of them are going to be fine afterwards, then we apply the rule of talinan. I'll just write it down as we saw. Okay, talinan. We assume. We can make an assumption. We assume for the best. Okay, now the Kahati notes that according to some Mefarshim, like the Tosfot Yom Tov, it's talking about a case where the baskets have more than the sa'ah. This is a sa'ah measurement, and the basket has to have more. In my picture, it's like that, but it's not clear from the Mishnah. Why? Because in this case, even if the basket of Terumah fell into the chulin, midoraita, it's batel barov. Remember, we talked about you have to have batel b'meah, etc., 1 to 200. That's midorabanan. Midoraita, even Terumah is batel barov. So once it's batel barov, and we're dealing with a din derabanan, then this is only a subject derabanan, and that's how the Chachamim can invoke the rule of talinan that we saw. That we assume that it fell into the right amount. But if it was actually equal, if it was a sa'ah and a sa'ah, then the Tosfos Yom Tov says we would not apply this rule because it would be a suffix dioraita. Okay. So therefore we learned, since one of them is chulin and one is Terumah, talinan. Aval, what the Terumah adds, achat chulin ve'achat tevel. What if they weren't chulin and Terumah, but they were chulin and this one was tevel? Let's assume that it was tevel. We'll give it a little different. Okay. So it was tevel. Or Maaser Rishon, or similarly, then lo talinan. We can't say talinan shenafla Terumah letevel kedei lahatir chulin. If the Terumah falls into the tevel, then the chulin is all fine. He says, but the tevel becomes midumah all the same, and I have to take off Terumah from somewhere else to make this whole thing Terumah. The point is, once this is something else, then it's no longer this is mutter and this is mutter, and since both of them are wonderful, therefore we say talinan. We only say talinan. Let's go back. We only say talinan if it's into Terumah. If when it falls into here, then both of them are wonderful. Okay? The same thing is true. Therefore, me'achar she'atevel nidma v'ne'esar, since tevel becomes miduma, and therefore you have to make the whole thing Terumah, or you have to have Terumah on the amount that fell into it. Demai chazid le'esar kupazu yoter mizu. Why should you make this one more asur than this one if this is tevel? But if it's Terumah, then this one doesn't become asur, and this one stays mutar as well, and therefore we say talinan. V'chein, the same rule is true to meo tehora talinan b'tameav. One is tamei, one is tahor, etc., etc. Klala de milta. The rule is kol hecha de'achat eina mitkalkelet talinan ba. Okay, any case in any rule that one of them doesn't become mikalkel, okay, then we are talinan ba. then we say talinan on that. Okay, then in the rule that one of them doesn't become mitkalkel, then we say we're talinan in that case. And in our case, the truma is not mitkalkel, the chulin stays great, therefore we say talinan. Mishnah continues. Now let's go back to our case. Take the saw out, that's out. And it just so happens, we're going to get rid of that saw, but put it on the side. It just so you have these two kupot. One is truma, one is chulin, but you don't know which is which. Okay? Let's say you ate one, patur. You're patur. Why? You don't have to give a chomesh, because maybe it's chulin. You have to, v'ashniya, noig ba b'truma. You assume the second, you have to treat the second one as truma, but v'chayevet b'chala, di Rabbi Meir. Why are you chayev in chala? Because when you eat it, if it's truma, it's not chayev in chala, but maybe it's not truma. So you have to treat it as, basically you treat it as both. You give it the chumrah or both. You treat it as truma, you have to eat it b'tara, and you also treat it like chulin, you have to take off chala. Okay, because it maybe is chulin. Rabbi Yossi poter. Rabbi Yossi says no, it's not chayav because this will be bar tenura. Rabbi Yossi poter. Kevan de lo ava yadir leike meduma. Since you don't know, it's not definitely meduma. Patur min achala. Therefore, it's patur min achala. Maybe it's truma. Achal echad et shteihem. Okay, achal acher et ashniya. This is a very interesting case, and we have this also in sometimes in treif meat. One guy eats, so you don't know which one is which. Okay, so we'll take off this label. Okay, safek truma and safek chuli. You don't know which is which. One guy eats one of them, he's patur because maybe he ate truma. Another guy eats the other one, he's also patur because maybe he also doesn't eat truma. He doesn't have to pay the chomesh. He's also achal acher tashniya. But achal echad et shteihem. If one guy eats both of them, then he obviously ate. One of them was truma. Mishalem kiktana shebishneihem. He has to pay. He has to add the chomesh. He pays the chomesh kiktana shebishneihem, like the smaller one. So if these two kupot, one is bigger than the other, then he takes the smaller one. He says, I assume that one was truma and I add a chomesh. Okay, we'll stop here. Very interesting cases of the talinan case is very interesting because you have to ask yourself, in the case where one is truma and one is chulin and one fell in, why don't we treat the chulin like safek? Okay, I could assume, very nice. It's nice to assume that it fell into the truma, but it's safek chulin. Nonetheless, since it's a din d'Rabbanan, the Rabbanan were mekil, and we'll assume this is the Rabbanan were very lenient and said that we apply the din of talinan, which is really strange, unusual, and very interesting. Stop here. If you have any comments or questions, ourspotler@gmail.com. We'll dedicate this learning to the memory of my father, of Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.